Hey guys, tonight I'm working on some custom hidden blades for some customers. They ordered from me, and a lot of you were unhappy with how little I showed of the actual mechanism to open and close the blade. I kind of figured that it was self-explanatory, but maybe that's just from someone who's, used to making stuff like this. So, I'm working on two new ones, and I was going to show you exactly how they work. And I don't have any blueprints for these or anything like I do on my Facebook page for the others, but that's just because they all vary a little bit, and especially one of these is custom, and it's an entirely different shape and style also. So I'm just going to show you that the mechanisms are the same on all of them, but they always vary because you've got to tweak them to fit the individual blades. So I'm just going to show you how this one works, and you can adapt it to fit any others. Alright, so here is the blade and the blade case all together. Here is the release mechanism that will close it once it's sticking out. And this is the release mechanism that opens it, with gravity of course. So here's how this works. So that slot is milled. There's a pin similar to those that goes in that. And that is what actually stops it when it gets to the end and stops it going back this way. Well, actually that stops it going back this way, but if that was not there, this would. So, how you open it is you flick your wrist or aim your arm down or whatever, and you pull the string, which has a spring here, and that opens that and allows it to slide. You can see the notches. That allows it to slide. The spring is so that you can keep bending your hand farther and farther back and able to stretch the spring without opening this farther and farther, because it stops right there. It should stop about there. Once I have the springs in here, then they will stop without going too far. So then, once it's out, it hits the slot there, forces it to stop, and then this one is tensioned, constantly pushing in, so as soon as it gets past that, it trips it, and if I can do it with one hand, that goes in, and that keeps it from sliding back in. Now, some people were complaining that this makes it wobbly and that sort of thing. Yes, it does, barely, especially with now that I've practiced and doing a new one, it's a whole lot better. And then there's just springs in both of those. That's really all there is to it. And that hole is so that you can drive the pin out through the bottom if you ever need to take the blade out for any reason. You can also do that with both of those because this gets welded together. You can't get this apart. That's part of why this design is so strong, why I sent this design in particular to Zombie Go Boom as opposed to a double action or spring powered or the multi-slide things. This is the toughest. It may not be the most screen accurate or the fanciest, but it's the toughest. Anyone who has ever made a double action or spring action or any of those others that I mentioned, I admire their channels. They're great, but they broke afterwards. Man-at-Arms and Colin Furs both made blades that were spring powered, double action, whatever. Man-at-Arms blade broke. I admire those guys like crazy. They are an awesome channel, but I heard theirs broke after just doing a quick test, and mine went through a ballistics gel head. And through the neck, through a piece of PVC pipe, and it's perfectly fine. So that's why I chose to do it this way. Also, for the sake of time, also spring-powered blades are illegal in a lot of places, so, selling custom blades kind of has some problems. So I hope that clears anything up. If you are trying to make a blade or something like that, I hope that helps. Again, all the measurements, they're not specific. It doesn't matter exactly if they're dead on, because all of these are custom made. If you can't figure out how to make it work, then you have no business making a hidden blade or anything like this. Realistically, my thought on the matter is, if you can't figure out how to do it yourself, I should not be giving you the means to make it when you don't even know how to do it. If you have the mind to make anything like this to begin with, even to start making it, you should be able to figure out the rest of it. Basically, all complicated big pieces or small pieces, they're all made up of smaller, less complicated parts. You just got to figure out how to put them together so that it works. last thing that I forgot to mention, a couple people mentioned several times, repeatedly as a matter of fact, it's rather annoying, that the lock mechanism that locks the blade out rubs on the blade edge every time you extend the blade and then release the blade, and it will dull it. Yes, it will. We don't care, because this is a piercing blade. Zombie Go Boom cut with it, and I am very surprised at how well it did. I didn't even really sharpen it to a fine point, to a fine edge. It's a pretty thick blade. It was only meant for piercing. And they cut with it, and it actually worked really well, and I'm surprised that it did. But I just want to say that's the reason why it doesn't matter, is because you're never going to be slashing people with it, really. Well, let's hope you're not stabbing anyone either, or anything. This is for, you know, costume display use only. You can stab stuff, but not people. So I just wanted to, you know, say it doesn't really matter that it slides on it. Also, it's only going to dull it to a certain point because the lock mechanism is mild steel and the blade itself is carbon steel. And so it will wear down the edge a little bit, but then it'll stop wearing it. It won't, like, keep eating into it. It'll destroy the lock mechanism before it does that.